When it comes to World War II flight sims, there's a huge list of games to choose from. From their finest hour up to aces over Europe, World War II sims have been a part of computer gaming life. 1942 is Microprose's first attempt at a simulation that doesn't include missiles and radar.
When you first enter 1942, you'll probably try to fly a single mission. After you've selected that option from the main menu, you're given a choice as to what type of mission you'd like to fly. As you can see, there are quite a few. Unfortunately, you cannot set your own parameters at this point, as in, say, Red Baron. Instead, you must actually create your own mission in the mission builder, but I'll talk about that later.
If you fly one of the training missions instead of a normal mission, you will start out in flight on the way to your objective. Hitting A for autopilot starts your plane in the right direction, and continuous tapping of the T key will start your time compression, as much as 16 times. Unfortunately, if you're by yourself and don't pay attention, you'll just end up spiraling toward the water in a puff of smoke. Luckily, when you're in a real mission, the autopilot is disengaged when the objective is within sight. The computer apparently has serious eagle eyes, because you still have to fly several minutes before you can actually see something other than the ocean.
I consider the slow start to this game a problem. When I fly a mission, I don't want to have to keep adjusting my time compression and keep my eyes open for the enemy. I just want to hit autopilot and magically appear at the battle.
When it comes to combat, 1942 is one of the best I've seen. The opposing planes move intelligently and are extremely fast, which makes for an exciting battle every time. It also makes for long battles because it's so hard to shoot the other planes down. In fact, if it weren't for occasional problems controlling your plane, the combat would be perfect.
I don't mind struggling when you're in the realistic flight mode, but turning it off doesn't seem to make it any easier to fly. Your plane has a bad tendency to sideslip in tight turns instead of rolling over and turning, making it impossible at times to make sharp turns.
I have to agree. Even when mashing on the joystick as hard as I could in one direction, left or right, I couldn't get the stupid plane to roll over. It would just continue side-slipping or just stop altogether. After you get over the control problems, 1942 becomes a rather pretty game to play. The virtual cockpit, almost standard on every new flight sim, is extremely helpful, letting you look around for the enemy without having to frantically hit the function keys.
I often found myself putting my fighter bomber on autopilot and just playing the rear gunner most of the time. The controls, sounds, and realistic fluid movement of the enemy aircraft were great. I just sat back taking pop shots at Zeros as they flew by shooting at me.
The best parts of 1942 were the bombing runs. Though they went slow and the only real action was shooting at the swarming enemy, the runs seemed incredibly realistic. When your rear gunner fails to shoot down or deter an enemy plane, your plane can easily be blown to bits. Fortunately, when one plane goes, you get switched to one of the other planes flying the mission, assuming there's one to switch to. With a powerful machine, the graphic detail in 1942 can be mind-blowing. The sounds seem to be realistic. The texture mapping on the islands is terrific, the ripples in the ocean are incredibly detailed, and even the ship trails look good.
I thought the graphics are nice, but nothing incredible. I would just say that they're up to par. The one thing about 1942 that I do think is fantastic is the bits and pieces that fly off a plane when it's being plastered by machine guns or bombs.
The rest of the game options of 1942 are not quite as good as the fly a single mission option. The strategy portion of this game comes in the career battle mode, which is very reminiscent of Task Force 1942. The career battle gives your choice of sides during a specific historical campaign. 1942 also includes a mission editor, which actually isn't bad. The editor lets you change various aspects of the game to your own liking. It's complicated, but can be a powerful tool for the experienced player.
The pilot career option is the same as Microprose's other flight sims. For fans of this setup, there you go. But for Red Baron and Aces Over Europe fans, you might find the single missions a little more fun. And last but not least, you have the film option. Though extremely useful for editing and making your own little movie, it's not very user-friendly. I'll take the Dynamics film editor any day.
Overall, I enjoyed 1942 quite a bit. The graphics were great, the sound is done well, and the whole feeling of realism was there. Though far from perfect, 1942 The Pacific Air War is a good choice when it comes to World War II flight sims.
Though 1942 is not my favorite flight sim, I do have to admit that blasting Zeros from the back of my fighter bomber was some of the most flight sim fun I've had in a long, long time.